Okay, so this video basically, I want to document what I guess the overall feeling that Brandon and I had from the Buy Here Pay Here Academy. We went to the Compliance Academy. I guess question number one is, if we did it again, if we decided to go down that business, do you think we should go to this conference again?
I think the conference would. I mean, if we would have known more about the industry, I think the compliance would have been a great opportunity for us to learn more about getting the government stuff, regulation and stuff in line for this business.
Mm-hmm.
And it did open our eyes. It helped us to direct where we wanted to go. There was a lot of good things on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of bad things on more than one side, like the buy here, pay here, as opposed to the lease pay here. But as far as the conference goes, we probably shouldn't go to that again, especially if we choose lease here, pay here, because a lot of stuff won't really apply to those.
For the compliance section.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, unless we learn more as we are getting into it and find out, there's more to it than that.
Because my comment on that would be the buy here, pay here is basically buy here, pay here.
Yeah.
Lease here, pay here is kind of like a version spin-off of buy here, pay here.
Just less regulated.
That
from what we've seen so far, yes.
And then the lease here, pay here. Well, buy here, pay here, you have to have a finance company and a dealership.
Right.
Where you're lending your dealership money as normal kind of bank would.
Right.
Where in a lease here, it's contained because you're not lending money to anybody.
You're just leasing your own asset.
Exactly. But as far as going back to the compliance part, I would say no. But next time, if we choose to go, we go to the the sales side. How do we get our product out there? How do we get our word of mouth out there more?
I think that would make more sense.
I mean, this will open as an eye opener, and we probably wouldn't have learned about leasing, the leasing side of it.
Agreed.
The other one.
Agreed.
So that was probably the right choice for us to help us make a decision.
Yeah.
But moving forward, next year, or the year after, or whenever you choose to proceed with this, go to that, using the websites to promote your products.
Yeah.
Because we did see some good, like Auto Trader was doing just a buy here, lease here, pay here stuff now, just one site for it.
Right.
That was, really directs the right traffic to your site or to your
with Auto Trader.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
Pays Auto Trader when I was for last vehicle.
Well, Auto Trader, if you go on there now, you put in year, make, model, your dollar, and it just brings up everything. Well, now they've just created a brand new site, Austin of it. It's within it. It's just for buy here, pay here, lease, pay here.
Oh.
Right.
So instead of just typing in the car you want, you're like, yeah, I know I can't get a loan. So you're like,
so then
that's
you
a dealer, I'm not going
go right straight to that section about
exactly.
Nice.
Did you remember the number of vehicles that were sold in buy here, pay here? Wasn't it 25%?
Yeah, it was a pretty high number.
It was a pretty high number
for the industry.
Yeah.
Industry in terms of all car sales, or
yeah, I mean, you got to remember all the dealers and everything through the U.S. 25% of them are a car sold are through buy here, pay here.
And that's just nationwide.
Yeah.
Wow.
Completely. I would say that the frustrating thing is that I noticed that when we went here that we had this great book. The first session that we had was it a compliance? Yeah, it was the first session that we had actually had slides that were all printed out. It was great to take notes, and then none of the other ones ever had slides printed off.
The other negative was the stuff we heard in the first day in the Compliance Academy was continually harped on throughout the academy. I understand it's a Compliance Academy. They want...
I mean, but I'd say probably an hour into the first day, I was just like,
they say that one more time.
They say that one more time. I mean, I bet you within the first hour and a half they said compliance, the word compliance, probably 500 times.
Compliance management system, or 100 times in the first day.
Yeah.
And they hopped on it the rest of the week. And understanding it is a compliance, they're trying to get their dealers compliant. And it sounds like they didn't have a lot of time to put this first one together either. So this is the first time they did a Compliance Academy.
Right. And so we were there. So I mean, there was a lot of things that were. It looked like you're right. They didn't kind of have a.
They weren't completely ready.
They weren't completely ready.
Next year if they do another one, it'll probably be better.
Yeah, I did find some very interesting things out about what you can what you can put on a website for buy here, pay here, and what you can't, which would apply for buy here, pay here, and for lease. Things that you cannot put on your website was the terms, everyone, anybody, 100% approval. We finance anyone, guaranteed approval, wholesale prices, 100% guaranteed, lowest prices, best price. Name your price, guaranteed trade-ins, down payment of X, no credit, no problem, pay off your old loan.
Is that strictly on the website, or is that website and on the type of dealership?
documentation?
Yeah,
you know,
but they
flyers,
were
mailers.
right, but they were really harping on the website because the the CFPB or whatever.
The CH.
Yeah, some kind of organization that is kind of like the watchdog and protecting consumers.
Yep.
From this, and I don't remember. I'll have to look that up of where that is. I don't remember where that was exactly. But things that they did suggest is putting on your websites to strive for 100% approval. They
Almost everyone gets approved. Or 100%.
right.
Strive.
Nearly 100% gets approved.
And put on like a why buy from us page with the policies and things like
Well,
what
trademark.
you said.
Trademark stuff.
Yes, trademark stuff.
You know,
can be
make sure
done just
if
fine.
it's trademarked, that's not a promise. That's a trademark. It's just.
It's an actual trademark,
Interesting.
and you're not deceiving because as long as it actually has that TM on it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have a slogan that really works for us, then we stick with that,
Yeah.
and we kind of go from that all over the place.
So essentially, all the buy here payers I've driven by that have 100% guaranteed banners across their thing are not compliant.
Well, correct.
Yeah,
Basically, you know, not every. You're not going to give me. If I don't have a job, if I'm
Right.
living on the street, you're not going to give me a car. You're not going to go take me.
right.
You know, but I mean, I use some good examples where you know a guy has horrible credit, but he's been on a job for 20 years, has a home.
Yeah.
You know, that's why the traditional credit system doesn't work in that industry.
Yep.
Right.
Because you know he needs a car to get back and forth to work to keep his home, to
Mhm.
keep his job of 20 years.
Yes.
You know, he's going to go out of his way to make sure that car payment's paid as long as the car's running. That was
Mhm.
another good. I mean, we didn't really find out that one in the seminar, but by some of the people we talked to.
Yeah.
You know.
What about the defaults?
Yeah.
Being
Because I would say it was something like 25% of the
Yeah.
cars
1 in 4.
that 1 in 4 default, and the primary reason
So
for
it's
the
in that last
default
video.
is
Yeah.
because of
Car breaking
car
down.
car breaking down.
So instead of buying that $1,000 car to turn around and make another $1,000 on, spend 3 or 4. That way it lasts a term of the lease or contract. And then Ben and I even talked about, you know, including services in it. You know, just roll them right into that. That way you know they come back, you get to see the car every year, or every time they know a change.
Yep.
And you make sure it's upkeep's good.
To point out what regulates leasing is Regulation M of the Truth in Lending
Mhm.
Act. But there might be state leasing laws. I briefly looked for the state of Indiana. I could not find any to this point in time that govern leasing laws for
Yeah.
Indiana. So, I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't because I've only researched for about 10-15 minutes, but I can't. But I do know for a fact in Regulation M that it says it cannot exceed $53,000 for a lease. And there's one other thing that I'm really apprehensive yet before we even pull the price, because at this point in time I'm looking at it as just like, okay, I need to look at before we even jump down this business whether or not it's really going to make the money that we think
Mm-hmm.
that it will make. You know, because as I briefly talked with Brandon last night, you know, when we were recapping, it was like, okay, so is it going to be better to just have real estate and lease
And deal
that
with
out
with the drama that comes
and
with
deal
that
with
versus
the drop with it? That's right.
Mhm.
Versus this. So we're really trying to figure out what is going to be the best. I guess the best.
Investment for your money.
Yeah,
there are a lot
that's
of pros
exactly
and cons. I mean, with a vehicle, you have constant machinery breaking down because it's constantly used. Whereas at a residential house, I mean, yeah, they're being used, but it's not like it's a mechanical function that will.
Yeah, but
Eventually we're-
you have the same pitfalls.
Same
But we have
faults.
HVAC
Right.
units that die, the toilets
Roofs
get
die,
plugged, the roofs
weather's
leak.
horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that type of stuff. There's one other major thing that I'm trying to figure out before even deciding whether or not this is even a candidate to run. Is I briefly heard somebody mention that the weekly payments or the monthly payments for your lease cannot add up to be more than the fair market value purchase or fair market value price.
And that's where they talked about using the Kelly Blue Book and stuff like that. That way, if you do get audited,
Right.
and that was more on the buy here, pay
That's
here
by
side.
here. That's by here. But
No.
I don't remember if that's
Yeah, I
'cause
don't
with-
For lease or pay.
yeah. You can go over the fair market value on the buy here pay here, but it has to be published. The buy here pay here or the
price
Price
fair
of
market
vehicle.
the FMV has to be
indicated on the contract.
correct. But the things that are very positive with leasing is interest rates don't have to be.
Exactly.
Right, yeah, you
To a
said.
penny.
Yeah, you could. You don't even have to disclose them. Not at all. If a lease is extended, you have to more than 6 months. You have to create a new lease. If you repo laws are very simple because with an installment agreement, like a car loan, buy here, pay here, you have to give all of the notices. With a lease, no notice is required.
Hmm.
None. If they default on that loan, you shut their car off.
Mhm.
You could go repo that car.
And that's
Right then and there.
state dependent too on those regulations.
It is.
So,
The early termination fee can be calculated however we want to do it. There's no, as long as we specify how we're coming to the conclusion of creating a termination fee, and it's posted on, say, our website, and it doesn't change for one customer or another customer,
Yep.
then it can be anything we want.
yeah.
If we want it to be 150% of the fair market value of the purchase of the price, we could.
And as long as that's consistent between
Consistent
age,
with-
race, creed,
That's
male,
right.
female.
Our software would work with leasing. Without it, we were kind of finding out that we might not be able to have Freeside modify it for us. We'd actually have to have software.
Why can we have
For
free
buy here,
side market?
Well, there's software out there just for the auto industry, obviously, and it,
Right.
when you had to come down to make sure the penny was correct on the contracts and, the service agreements were 100%.
Because as you know, amortization schedules can be off just a little bit. And they said that even between softwares,
You
out
lose
there.
some pennies, yeah.
yeah, and
But the software companies usually take the bite on that,
right,
Yes.
they take
It's,
the
uh,
sales tax. One of the things that was a positive with leasing versus buy here, pay here with sales tax. With buy here, pay here, you collect all of that money from your customer up front.
Mhm.
Then, so that's less money that they have for a down payment. Because somebody that needs a car, they need a down payment. They probably don't have $1,000 in their checking account.
Right.
So that limits your.
Market base.
You're absolutely right. With sales tax for Indiana or for leasing, you charge that monthly,
This is
or
7% ongoing.
weekly forever that payment. So it's spread out. It's not all at one.
One thing that really caught my eye or my attention when it was brought up is in the buy here pay here you had to have a finance company and a dealer. With the leasing you don't. That means to provide your finance company,
Mhm.
they said to start your finance company about $50,000 in the bank just to start your finance company. out.
Now, what if? I mean, if there's at a certain point in time they lease this car for 12 months, a year, 2 years, and they say, I really do like this car. Is anybody can buy it off you?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
What
Fair
then? What
market
if
value
It's-
of
it's
that
at-
date.
It's at the end of that lease.
Mhm.
but that doesn't turn you into a buy here payer. That's still a lease here payer.
No,
You're just selling your asset
Exactly.
At the end of the lease.
at the end of the lease.
Yes. And
But they
the
can
nice
buy
thing
it.
about it though, if they don't, we get it back. We can release it if it's still in good
You
condition,
can
or we
release it.
sell it at an auction and
Yep.
we've already made our money back from the lease itself.
Correct.
Anything on top of that is going to be a financial benefit.
That's where I've got to find out where you said we've made our money up, because
yeah,
the one thing that I've not yet figured out is about that whole thing that it can't be more than that
right.
fair market value, or the weekly payments cannot add up to be more than if a customer were to just buy that
Oh, see,
themselves.
Griffiths, yeah, wire all ran, all that fun stuff, drops everywhere, pain in my bum.
Yeah.
Phones installed.
They wanted Harry to come back next week. That's all because they were super busy. They didn't have time to sit with him and go over a few things with the phones and blah blah blah.
And
blah,
I say
blah,
we
blah.
don't. If they don't want to have time for us to train them, then we'll come back another time. We don't have them drive now.
Yep.
I mean,
So-
because since I've been out there, they've only had one. Patricia called in yesterday,
Oh yeah.
and then because I walked them through the website, she was able to find her answer on our website.
Oh,
with
great.
the YouTube videos.
Great.
But
But other than that, no other issues with
Right.
them so far.
Yeah, man.
Great.
Thank you. Casey's gonna be doing that from now on once he's here.
Run cable, Casey.
We gotta finish this here.
Yep. Thanks, sir.
Okay, so an RFC can be used with a leasing company. It just doesn't have to be.
RFC.
Related finance company.
Yes.
It's a separate company, and with a buy here pay here, it's pretty much you need to have it for tax wise. The president of this association, he still
Ken.
believes that he still believes that you should want to have an RFC even for leasing.
That makes
But
sense.
I don't know.
But
Those
everyone
are-
talks
those
to
are
said,
text.
if you get in this industry, you're going to drop a lot of money up front.
Yep.
With the leasing side, that's not.
Not the case.
You know, as
It
we
didn't
talked about,
seem
start
like
off 2-3 cars at a time, 1 or 2 cars at a time, and grow.
Yep.
You know, you don't have to drop 50 grand into a finance company, 100 grand into cars, and just boom, you're a lot.
Right.
Now, if there were ever to be a transition between buy here, pay here, and lease here, pay here, can one go into another eventually?
Yes, they can, and there were dealers out there that were taking notes about that and whether or not what can we do, and some of them have done this, and there was even one of them that said that they started doing lease here, pay here, and then they decided to get out of it. But I think it was because they didn't totally understand it, and their salespeople were getting confused.
And they were basically lying to the customer because they weren't educated enough. They were
Right.
selling one way, and that's the way.
So if we were to do one, it's going to be one or the other.
Agreed.
We're not going to do both.
Mhm.
It's just going to be too confusing. We want our product to be unique
Agreed.
on what it is we're
But with the
selling.
finance side, you literally have to move money week to week from the dealer to the finance, to the finance to the dealer.
Yeah.
You know, it's an actual
And the CFPB monitors that.
hugely. It's,
They
Now,
actually monitor that. Company.
how would that affect the other things we were talking about before, like the reinsurance and
It doesn't. In fact, Tim Bird, I talked to him. He was actually the one that I talked to him. Whatever it was, Monday, I think it was, and he's actually the one that said we should probably do a lease here, pay here, and not even do a buy here, pay here.
Right.
And you can still do the reinsurance from him. His company. Let's see. It's
I didn't know if that was something we could
Dealer RE Reinsurance Experts. His company, what they do is it costs, what was it, $5,000 to set
and
it up.
trust. Yeah.
Yeah, and they set up everything for you, and then $1,500 of that actually goes as seed money into your trust.
Hmm.
So it's really technically $3,500, and then everything's set up in the Turks and Caicos, but the accounts are actually all in
Interesting.
states.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was something we'd have to, if it was a lease here, pay here, it would also just include in the lease value, or if that.
I can tell you that there's not a lot of people that will be offering exactly what we.
Agreed.
There was very few people that were leasing there to begin with.
Yeah, but they're old school. I mean,
Very
most of
old
those
school.
people that were in the industry were old school, rich. They're not gonna change. Like our older customers, they're not gonna change what they do now.
Yeah.
You know, they
No, I see the benefit, excuse me, on our side for lease here, pay here. What's the benefit for the customer side to do a lease here, pay here versus buy here, pay here? stuck with
Usually,
an asset that's trapped at
it's
the end?
cheaper.
Okay.
They're not stuck with the car.
Yeah.
At the end of the lease, they can turn around and come right in, and they can, for the same amount of money,
Switch
go
to your
pick a
vehicle.
vehicle right off the lot. That's an advantageous. That's something very nice for them. True, they're not building up equity in really anything,
Right.
but technically, I think the mindset of our customers that we're going to be wanting to approach, they're not in
low
that.
prices. Something's giving it work.
They want to
Get
get
Or
you.
someone's gonna run.
And if there's something that we can offer to that customer that is going to be like, hey, whatever the problem is, bring it in, we'll take care of it. You know, there's X charge to,
Mhm.
take care of it. And that's why there is a lot of people that lease today with brand new vehicles, because if there's any maintenance issues on that thing, the lease company takes care of it. You know, like I mean, that's an incentive for them to.
Yeah, I mean, like they said, most of defaults are because the car's not running. They leave it where it lays, impound yard or
That's right.
car lot, garage. They just leave them there.
I mean, I understand. I mean,
Yeah.
where's the boundary line between a lease here, pay here, and something like an enterprise?
That's
So
That's a rental
enterprises
car.
as rental
Right.
vehicles.
and there's that's a whole nother method you could actually rent cars.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it's more regulated than
Done lease here.
Lease it.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
You got to remember, if I give you my car to drive, maybe you don't have insurance, you don't have a driver's license, you know, I'm held liable because I'm an idiot who let you take my car to Florida for a week. You know what I mean?
And then you kill somebody when you're drinking, and
Exactly.
guess what? Now I'm the one going to jail because you're drunk and stuff.
So one thing that I did find out is LHPH.com. I met a gentleman by the name of George Klinke, and what he does is their company, they do a lot of different things. They can actually even provide financing to a lease your pay here company. But what they do is they provide contingent and excessive liability insurance. So what that is if a customer, let's say for example, Brandon gets a lease your pay here car from me.
Okay.
And he's supposed to have insurance on that from, limited liability insurance, or PLPD. He all of a sudden decides to not pay it that month.
Yep.
He gets in a car accident. What they provide for $5.50 per month per car is they provide that insurance.
Nice. And you can
So it's basically
that.
no, I can't include it. What they do is they provide, and that's one of the things that I want to find out. So I can keep all of that money coming into my account, but what it is it provides that insurance gap in case he doesn't. We still require it. The state requires it that he has insurance.
But then our butts are still covered if
our assets, is covered.
That's right.
our assets are covered.
Yes, that's right. That's right. The other thing about it is there was I put a comment on here that says don't depreciate the vehicle because the default rates are so high.
So the asset doesn't depreciate in value? How does
Yeah, I
that
don't
work?
remember what that one was. But there are bankruptcy benefits to leases versus vehicles, or buy here, pay here.
Really? So you can collect on the remainder of a lease versus collecting on the remainder of
They
the
have
asset?
to basically, the judge makes them sign off on whether or not they continue
To pay the car.
to pay the car.
So if they want to keep the car, they can continue to keep paying, or-
Interesting.
or they can get the car back.
So at least there's the option, whereas in other bankruptcies, it's basically right alone.
Or it could take forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a settlement or something.
Yep. Let's see. If you're going to take additional caps like trade-ins, then it has to be disclosed in the lease when it's created. Most of the industry do trade-ins for lease here, pay here. Security deposit is separate and it's not a capital reduction. So if we ask for a $400 security deposit, that money is not taxable.
But do
For
they
the
get
company?
that security? I mean, I wasn't in that seminar with you. Do they get their
It
$400 back?
has to be a small amount, and
if they bring the car back at the end of the lease in
Is it
good
refundable?
condition, is it refundable?
Or is it like a
yes, I think it is.
or is it like a residential lease where it's dependent
It
upon
can actually
if
go
we have
to
to do
it
some
could, it could go
Yeah,
toward
cleaning.
the
Upkeep.
yes.
upkeep for the-
What's is nice about that though? Is they've already got
Mhm.
down payment down with us. Just roll that into the next deal if they want.
20% is the minimum buyout rate. So at the end of the lease, 20% is the minimum that it can be. So the
Define that. What do I mean 20%?
20% of, let's say for example, it's a $10,000 car.
Yep.
20% is the minimum. The $2,000 is the minimum charge for them to buy that car at the end of the lease.
Oh, so they can't. Perfect. Okay.
It can't be $100.
You can't just sell the $100 car. It's still gonna be okay.
And so George, he says that if we have any questions, which obviously we do, to call him. But so there seemed like a lot of positives for going with a lease here, but not as much for the buy here. So I would definitely do it again, but I don't know if I would go to compliance.
Right.
Another fair question. Lease here, pay here versus buy here, pay here. Are they the same market types? Meaning, can we just go through and
Same demographics.
same demographics? Okay.
And actually, I think our demographics would be even lower than the buy here pay here because we can offer a lower rate with the leasing
Agreed.
than a buy here pay here.
Yeah.
So our demographics would even open up a little more.
It would open up more. Yeah, especially if it was all,
Would we have to have more vehicles in stock though to make our money?
And that's the key. We talked about, would you start out small or just go all blown out?
Yeah.
We're doing it. Here's
Yep.
100 grand. Here's cars. Here's a lot.
Gotcha.
Right.
Here's all the stuff we need to get started.
I mean, because it's that whole residual
Right.
wanting to cover everything.
And that's where we're kind of, starting off small. You can go get a dealer license, go to the auction, pick up a couple cars for six to 10 grand.
Yep.
And put them out in the lot and sell those two. Then go and get a couple more.
At least
That
yeah,
way, you're not sitting with,
Right.
$100,000 worth of cars sitting on your lot, hoping you
right.
can turn them in the next.
We're monitoring what's going on continuously.
At some point, maybe we'll be there.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's a bigger bulk either way you go on that side of things, but
Well, I mean,
I can
there's-
see the difference between the two.
There's dealers that, large dealers obviously, doing what, 300-400 vehicles a month.
At least
Yeah.
Well,
No,
buyer
on
pay.
buyer
or by here, yeah.
But that just tells you the market, how big that market is.
Yep.
Because a regular car dealer lot does not do that.
No.
Not brand new cars. They
Definitely.
may sell used cars with it, but
So there's a lot of volume that you can do with this.
There is a lot of volume.
And they said that the sweet spot for leasing, what you want to keep it at, is between $85 and $95 a week in payments.
$100 a week. That's still
if you can't get a car anywhere else, you
$100
gotta
a
have
week.
something.
That's
Mm-hmm.
anything
The
$150 a
obviously,
week.
the more money you can put down, the less that's going to come down too.
Well, for buy here, pay here, it does.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But not for
The leasing side.
leasing side. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Yeah.
I did make a comment on here for an RFC. You have to have an RFC if you have over $500,000 in
Assets.
portfolio.
And that's for
where
lease year?
Absolutely required. Yeah.
But if we're to that level, it's not going to be an issue.
Right.
No.
You're absolutely right.
No.
Yeah, let's see. Autotrader.com is up to 19 million unique visitors per month.
Wow.
That means unique, not me coming back
Right.
100 times.
So that means that tells you a rough
They track
idea.
that by IP address, you think?
There's
Probably
some,
users
there's
will
some
sign up.
there's some algorithms that tracks that.
Okay.
But that basically gives you an idea that there's roughly 19 million people a month looking for a
vehicle.
used car.
And that's
And then 25% of those
our buyer pay.
are buy here, pay here.
That's a good deal.
And that's not even counting people who aren't computer savvy.
What was that, 500,000 per month?
Right. Yes. I did learn a couple different things about the fair debt collection practice
Yeah.
that we can apply for other companies.
So 5 million. Which I have this is
It's
zero.
5 million.
5 million. It's a lot of zeros.
Yeah. And one thing that I think that we should do is we should actually funnel our complaint process
Mm-hmm.
for all companies down into one system
For complaints.
for complaints. We don't handle our complaints internally very well.
No.
They're all over the
Well,
board.
because we all get different.
We all get at different
Plus
places.
one complaint can draw in 5 people.
Right. So what they suggested doing is having a specific place on your website for complaints, and then you can actually start tracking. They have software out there
Yeah.
that'll
yeah.
do that, where you can actually track it based upon employees. You can track it on. I don't think that we need that level, but at the same point in time, it's
Well, doing
Something to
the,
look into for sure.
doing the compliance stuff, we realized that we already do most of that on the telco side.
Yeah.
What by
Yeah.
creating procedures and policies. And that's what they're look for, the regulatory people when they come in.
right.
What's your process for handling this?
Go to the wiki.
Well, I mean, but
No,
it's
seriously.
basically right because they're saying, hey, get a 3-inch binder and create your own
Yeah. One.
compliance
yeah.
management.
Portfolio.
Yeah, we basically that is our wiki.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of companies that, and I can see what is so important about having this because there's a lot of companies out there that run things with just paper. They don't have anything like that.
Couldn't do
So having somebody like that is a
it. It's an advantage.
as a major advantage. One other thing that was very interesting was when we send out surveys for customers to fill out, based upon a survey, if the survey response was good, and we could do this for all companies, but if the survey results they were happy with it, open up a new link that gives them an opportunity to write a review on one of our websites. If it's a bad one, don't allow that option.
Oh, nice.
It's a
I thought that was
great
pretty cool.
idea. It's a great idea.
That is.
Yeah. rather than like what we do right now is just push them toward
Write a review.
write a
Good or
review.
bad, don't care. Write a review.
Yep, they hit 100% positive. They
Yep.
get hit
Yep.
next, and it gives them the option to fill out.
Yeah, I thought that was very
Absolutely.
That's wise.
yes.
Shouldn't take J card.
No.
No.
Let's see. Let me get that.
List of action items.
Yeah, I know. Well, basically, it was a lot of it. A lot of
Like
things.
goal setting. What
Goal
do I
setting,
wanna
research,
achieve?
and
Right. Yeah. But I like a researching the state laws and things like that. But there's a lot of things that need to be put into a lease agreement. Now we kind of got a few lists of those type of things. But
examples. And
yeah, like a texting agreement that we have permission to text them.
Yep.
But they said that there was lawsuits going on in the industry for the Fair Debt Collection Act on if you text them more than once per 24 hours.
because the phones were regulated for phone calls, but not as much for texting.
And it is now that way.
Nice.
They did suggest that all of your closing agreements, when you actually have closing on the vehicle, you videotape the entire thing with the customer.
Agreed.
The whole thing, along with a walkthrough
Mm-hmm.
of the vehicle explaining everything about the vehicle.
Recorded, done, and be.
Mhm.
I've made that suggestion when my dad goes and does repairs
Yep.
because that way they don't
It's
come
all
back
done.
6 months later and say, "Well, you broke it." No, I didn't. This is the video for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That generates a whole nother issue with storage. And
Oh yeah.
it does. It really truly does generate a whole thing of things that we have to keep track of. But anyway, I think it was a pretty good.
yeah, it was a good experience.
It was a good experience.
Eye-opening and informative.
So the biggest thing now, Eric, is
Excluding the front.
what you and I are going to have to do is we're going to literally sit down and compare. If we have 25 cars in the lot, and we figure out how much money we have in that out there,
Mhm.
and we have that same amount in real estate,
Which is going to be the better.
which is going to be better?
Well, that'd be hard because it both has.
They do. But that gives us a fair idea
does.
of where we need to go. Because if I'm going to spend $50,000 on cars, well, $50,000 can buy me.
Like you
X.
said last night, you can buy a building, finance in 15 years, and make money
Right.
while you're paying it off.
Right. You make money while you're paying it off, and
And
you got all of the money for the rest of
Yep.
forever. At the end of the 3 or 4 or 5 year lease that we offer,
Yeah.
how much is left?
Yeah, exactly. How many cars we need to make as much money on a property?
and with cars, there's some property taxes.
There's what?
There's not property taxes like there are.
There's
for,
not.
right.
See, those are the plus and
Yeah,
minuses that you have to really
you have
figure
to
out.
break even. Where you break even
That
here.
adds up a lot.
Does a lot.
But with the property value can go up or down.
Again,
That's right. That's a positive.
And then when you're done with that building, what
Yeah.
you choose to sell it, that's
Yeah, I
Big
mean
chunk of
you have
change back.
an asset versus lien. You sell your small car for
Mhm.
very little.
you still won't have that asset on your books, but
There are a lot of things to weigh.
There are, and that's actually the next step that we have. I have a couple questions in my mind to answer before we have that meeting, and
Yeah.
I'll email George and find
Mhm.
those questions out. And then
Yeah.
once I do that, then we can
Go to a whiteboard and we start listing pros and cons.
figure out financially which makes the most sense. So, anything else you want to add, Brandon?
no, it was a good overall show
Yeah.
and informative, like I said.
Except for the first day where they kept saying compliance like 700 million times. Yeah.
Buffet was really good.
Saw a picture of that. What the heck was the waffle thing? What was that?
That was amazing.
All right, this is the end of the video.
Yeah.